Hello and welcome back to another video on the Wrestlers Debate and to AEW Full Gear out of 10. And yeah, the show features 13 matches, including John Moxley v MJF, the in-ring return of Saraya, and much more. So it certainly wasn't a quiet show. And on the buy-in, we saw the best friends Rocky Romero and Danhausen victorious in the first match. Ricky Starks in advance to the final of the Eliminator tournament on Dynamite. And yeah, I think he'll go through to the final spot. And Andy Kingston defeated Juan Akiyama in a really solid match as well. So what's going on in full on the pre-show? I'm not going to review it here because I'll probably be here for hours. But yeah, you should go and check it out because yeah, there's some of the action on there. The main card kicked off with Luchasaurus versus Jungle Boy in the steel cage match. Jungle Boy avoided Luchasaurus' grip and hit some punches to start the match. He then unloaded on his former partner before Luchasaurus took him down with a big boot. He then followed up with a slam and pose in the middle of the ring. Jungle Boy was busted open. Luchasaurus rubbed his forehead on the steel cage. He then slammed Perry into the ring and followed up with right hands in the corner. Luchasaurus whipped Jungle Boy into the corner and hit sidewalk slam for a 2 count to follow up. He then threw his former partner into the cage. Jungle Boy fought back though by tripping Luchasaurus' arms in the ropes with an armbar, but the Giant overpowered him with a big boot and an avalanche choke. So Luchasaurus then hit the cutthroat for a 2 count, and Christian stole the keys to the steel cage and was ejected from ringside. Later, Jungle Boy hit a super kick on Luchasaurus, but the latter caught him and threw him into the cage on the outside. Luchasaurus then brought in the table and chair inside the squared circle before Jungle Boy fought back with some drop kicks and then stomped Luchasaurus' head into the steel cage. He then went for a power drive, but Luchasaurus dropped him on the apron instead. Luchasaurus looked to hit a choke slam and on the steel chair, but Perry reversed it into a Canadian Destroyer and followed up with the unprettier for a 2 count. Towards the end, Luchasaurus tried for a fossilizer, but Jungle Boy played a sleeper. He then went to the top of the cage and hit a huge elbow drop, applied the snare trap to pick up the victory. And yeah, what a brilliant spot to end the match. And yeah, gets no out of 10 from me. All the storytelling, Jungle Boy finally gained the victory. Had to happen, and it did, and I thought it was a really fun match to open. Jungle Boy coming over more and more of a star. 8 out of 10. Next up was Death Triangle versus the Elite for the Trios title. Kenny Omega and Pac started the match for their respective teams, and boy, it was good to see them back. The latter hit a big boot to get the early advantage, but Omega retaliated with a dropkick. Jackson and Phoenix were tagged in after a back and forth between the two stars. The Young Bucks and Lucha Bros found themselves down after a sequence of super kicks. The Elite then triple team Penta, but Phoenix took out Omega. Nick Jackson then took out Pac on the outside with a twisting press. Pac and Kenny were leading competitors at the stage of the match. He hit a big boot before Penta tagged in, and Death Triangle hit a triple dropkick for a 2 count. Omega came back into the match and tagged in Matt. He then hit a Northern Light suplex, but Penta hit the Punisher for a 2 count. After a back and forth, Nick took out all members of the Death Triangle, and Omega came in and hit Terminator, followed by a Swanton Bomb on the Lucha Bros. At one point in the bout, Death Triangle hit tremendous triple tombstones on the Elite. The Lucha Bros then took out the Young Bucks on the outside before Ray Phoenix came in and tagged himself in. He then hit a leaping move onto Kenny Omega before he tossed Pac into the hammer to Phoenix. He refused to use it, and Omega hit the V-drive and the Trigger drive for a 2 count. Towards the end, the Young Bucks took out Pac and Penta. Omega then hit the V-trigger on Phoenix, but Pac again threw the hammer to him. Omega went for the one-winged angel, and this time Phoenix used the hammer to pick the pinfall victory. And yeah, this gets a 7 out of 10 from me. Did not see Death Triangle retaining at all. I thought this would be the proper start to get the Elite as trios champions. So yeah, this was a surprising result. I guess they were doing stuff in the singles and tag team divisions, but yeah, gets 7 out of 10 just because I thought would have brought the Elite back with a win. But yeah, huge victory with Death Triangle and a brilliant match. Next up was Jade Cargill versus Nyla Rose for the TBS title. Nyla took out Kira before the match started, but Jade took her down as soon as she unloaded on Rose with kicks and forehands in the corner. Rose tried to fight back, but got sent to the outside and got a punk kick. The action spilled to the crowd, and Rose got the advantage, and she tripped Cargill onto the suicide. Rose hit a few body slams and a splash for a 2 count. She kept alive her offensive momentum and scored another 2 count, and then after hitting a neck breaker, Cargill tried to come back, but Rose hit the beast knee for a 2 count. Towards the end, Jade Cargill hit a powerbomb on her opponent for a 2 count, but Nyla recovered and hit the Jade on Cargill for a 2 count, and Rose then looked for a Swanton Bomb but missed, and Cargill hit a punk kick and followed up with Jaded for the victory. And yeah, this gets a 6 out of 10 from me. Kind of a bit of a come down after the first 2 matches were so chaotic, but you know, an end to a decent feud, I would say. And yeah, the right result, of course. Jade continues their dominance. 6 out of 10. Before it's time for the 4-way ROH title match, Jericho and Castagnoli battled on the outside while Danielson and Guevara clashed inside the ring. Claudio sent Jericho into the barricades, and Guevara was also sent outside. Danielson took out Guevara with a suicide dive before Jericho took him out on the steel sets. The BCC members and Jericho were inside the ring as they unloaded on the JS leader with uppercuts. Guevara entered the ring and got the same treatment from the BCC and then fought each other I hit uppercuts. Claudio lifted Danielson up, the latter rolled him up for a 2 count. Jericho tried to break the battle when Claudio and Danielson both hit one leg of and applied a Boston Crab at the same time. Guevara then came with a double cutter for a 2 count on Castagnoli. Jericho and Guevara high-fived each other and the JS members worked over Danielson, but the latter fought where a roundhouse kicks for a 2 count on Guevara. At one point in the bout, Guevara and Jericho started squaring off. Guevara hit a code break on Jericho for a 2 count. He then looked to apply the walls, but the Wizard escaped out of it. Guevara lifted Jericho up for the GTH and followed out with a shooting star press for a 2 count. Towards the end, Guevara hit the Spanish Fly on Danielson, but the latter rolled up and applied to the bell lock. Jericho broke out. Castagnoli then took out Danielson with a neutralizer on the outside. He looked to hit the neutralizer on Guevara, but rolled him up. Castagnoli then hit the giant swing on Guevara, but Jericho came out of nowhere to pick up the victory after hitting Judas Effect. And yeah, this gets an 8 out of 10 from me. When you've got these 4 wrestlers in one ring, it's always going to be chaos, and this is exactly what it was for me. A really, really fun match from start to finish. Jericho retained, pleased about that, because I feel like his reign's still got a lot more to give. It was then time for the match we've all been waiting for such a long time. Saraya returning to the ring against Britt Baker, and Saraya pulled Britt's hair and slammed her into the corners. The latter retaliated with a headlock and shoulder tackle. Saraya then applied a headlock and whipped Baker across the ring before hitting a thrust kick. Baker then blocked a drop kick and she hit a neck breaker on the apron. She then hit another neck breaker for a 2 count. Baker looked to apply the lockjaw but hit a running neck breaker instead for a 2 count. Instead, Saraya looked to hit an electric chair and followed out with a crossbody for a 2 count. After a back and forth between the 2 stars, Saraya hit the nightcap for a 2 count. Baker countered with a lockjaw, but Saraya somehow reached the ropes. Towards the end, Saraya hit a big knee strike and followed out with a super kick on for a 2 count. Baker then responded with a ripcord elbow and followed out with a fisherman neck breaker. She then hit a stomp for a 2 count. Saraya hit an air raid and followed out with a knee strike. She then hit the rampage to pick up the victory on Full Gear. And yeah, this gets a 7 out of 10 from me. Was it the best match on the card? No, it wasn't. But was it just absolutely brilliant to see Saraya back in the card? And did she put in a very good performance in her first match in 5 years? Yes, she did, and that was exactly what it was all about. Getting a big victory, 7 out of 10. So happy to see her back. It was then time for Wardlow versus Jay versus Hobbs for the TNT title. All 3 brentled to begin with. Wardlow battered Joe on the outside and sent him into the ring post. Hobbs then came in and took out Wardlow. He sent the champion into the steel sets and slammed his head onto the apron. Hobbs then rolled Wardlow in and hit a vertical suplex before he kept up the momentum and laid on both Wardlow and Joe. Wardlow then came back in with a whisper in the wind and followed out with Larry on Hobbs. He then hit a sponton bomb on Hobbs. Joe came in and hit a atomic drum and a Yozoka kick for a 2 count on the champ. After a back and forth, Wardlow sent Hobbs outside and Joe took both of them out with a suicide dive. He then dropped Hobbs on the guardrail and looked to hit a pile driver on Wardlow, but Hobbs stopped him. Towards the end, Hobbs then hit a big spine buster on Wardlow. Mr. Mayhem then recovered and retaliated with powerbomb symphonies on Hobbs, but Joe attacked him with a title. Joe then knocked in the Coquina clutch to become the new champion. And yeah, didn't see that coming. Maybe there's a possible unification of the AEW and ROH mid-card titles. I guess we'll have to see. But yeah, it gets an 8 out of 10 from me. It was a really, really fun match. I wasn't bothered by the result either way, to be honest. But yeah, Joe's going to have a great title reign for sure. And yeah, just a really, really fun match between big men. So yeah, 8 out of 10. It was then time for Sting and Darby versus Lethal and Jarrett. Darby attacked Jay with a skateboard on the entrance ramp, Sting unloaded on Jeff from behind. The Icon and Allen then kept the momentum with the latter hitting a shoulder tackle off the apron. The action towards the outside, but Darby battling Jeff Jarrett and Sting crashing against Lethal. Sting dropped Lethal on the barricades. Allen then climbed the ladder and looked to hit a flying move on Saturn and Sting, but the Giant caught him and threw him on the entrance ramp. Jarrett then ramped Allen on the steel steps and attacked him with a chair. Sting and Jeff Jarrett are leading competitors at this stage. The Icon unloaded with a series of clotheslines and followed up with Stinger splashes. And then applied the Scorpion Deathlock, but Sanjay Dutt and Saturn Sting caused a stretch, and this allowed Jarrett to get 2 count on Sting. Towards the end, Sting then knocked out off the apron and took out Sting. Sting and Allen took out Saturn and whipped Sting with a Scorpion Death and Coffin Drop combination. Lethal and Sting then battled. The former looked to hit Lethal injection, but Sting countered into a Scorpion Death Drop, and Allen fired out with a Coffin Drop to pick up the victory. And yeah, this gets a 7 out of 10. The Bell Boys can still go, and they proved it here. Really, really fun match this. Great stuff. Sting and Jarrett, really entertaining to see them in the ring, and Allen and Lethal obviously did a great job too here. So yeah, 7 out of 10. Just a really, really fun match. Before it's time for Toni Storm versus Jamie Hayter for the interim title. Both stars squared off in the middle. Hayter stomped on the back of Toni Storm's neck and fired out with a rear chin break. Storm then came back into the counter after hitting a running hip attack. She fell out with a crossbody drop for a 2 count. Storm then hit a swinging DDT for a 2 count. Hayter tried to come back in with the contest with forearms on Strong. After a cheap shot by Reba on Toni Storm's back, Hayter got the advantage after hitting the Uranagi slam. She then hit a standing lariat for a 2 count. Towards the end, Hayter hit a Uranagi backbreaker on for a 2 count and then followed up with clotheslines and forearm strikes. After some shenanigans from Baker, Hayter sent Storm face first into the exposed turnbuckle. She then hit a ripcord lariat to pick up the pinfall victory over Toni Storm. And yeah, Jamie Hayter is now the interim women's champion, and yeah, personally I didn't see this coming a few weeks ago, but definitely intriguing to see where it would go. Storm's title reign hadn't really got going. I would like to see it given a bit more time, but yeah, still Jamie Hayter, definitely this is going to be interesting with Brett Baker and her connections there. So yeah, can't wait to see where that all goes. It's definitely going to be very intriguing, like I say. So yeah, a decent match as well. So yeah, gets a 7 out of 10 from me. Really solid stuff here. Before it was time for the AEW Tag Team title action, the Acclaim versus Swerve and Our Glory. A brawl started between all 4 stars involved. Anthony Barnes hit an elbow strike on Keith Lee and followed up with a Hurricane Rana. Lee got sent to the outside with the Acclaim on top against Swerve Strickland, and the latter managed to get some offense in and tagged in Keith. Lee hit a hammer slap guardie slam on Barnes and Strickland and unloaded on Caster in the ringside area. The challenger set up a guardrail on the apron and sent Barnes face first into the steel structure. Swerve and Our Glory kept up the momentum after Lee hit a body splash on Bones for a 2 count, and Strickland was tagged in at this point. He continued the offense and kicked Bones in the shoulder. Lee lifted Bones, but Caster took out Strickland. Anthony Bones and hit a poison Rana as Keith Lee, as both men were taken down in the match. Strickland and Caster are legal men, and the latter unloads on his adversary. After a back and forth between the two teams, Strickland managed to hit a flatliner and follow it up with a swerve kick for a 2 count. He then hit it for another 3 kick, but he only got to a slew count on Bowens. Swerve Strickland then went for a stop, but Bowens reversed it and hit the arrival instead. Caster was tagged in and hit the mic drop, but Keith Lee broke the count. Caster kicked out, but Swerve and Our Glory came back in and targeted Bowens. Towards the end, Swerve brought out his pilers and often them to Keith Lee. However, the latter refused to use them and got slapped by Strickland. Angry Keith Lee walked out on his partner, and Bowens almost took the advantage for 2 count. Swerve Strickland then hit the JML, but Anthony Bowens dodged it and tagged in Max Caster. The Acclaim then hit a double team move to pick up the victory over Swerve and Our Glory. And yeah, this gets a 7 out of 10 from me. It looks like the long-awaited split's finally happening. I like the way they did it as well. Really fun match. The Acclaim get the victory, continue there. Really entertaining title run. And yeah, the much speculated split. I thought it would happen at some point. Maybe not this quickly, but yeah, definitely excited to see where that all goes now. So 7 out of 10. It was then the AEW World Championship match, Jon Moxley and MJF. Moxley immediately unloads on MJF with a haymaker. The latter then retaliated with a slap on the BTC member. Moxley then hit some chops and elbow strikes before hitting the Devil's Head. After a back and forth between the two stars, MJF spit a drink in Moxley's face, but the latter still sent the challenger into the steel steps. Moxley then taunted MJF a little on the side of the earth, responded with a clothesline. Both men were down at this point in the match, and MJF unloaded on Moxley and slammed his head 10 times into the turnbuckle. Moxley came back in and looked to hit the pile driver. MJF stopped him in his tracks. Towards the end of the match, the referee was knocked out cold and MJF was looking to use the diamond ring. However, Regal came down to the squared circle as MJF threw the ring away. Moxley applied a choke and the Devil rolled him up for a 2 count. Another referee got taken down as MJF was tapping out and Moxley's bulldog choke. Regal slipped in the brass knuckles for MJF to use and knocked Moxley out cold. He then pinned the BCC member to become the new AEW World Champion. And yeah, I think we all knew it was coming when those shots arrived of Regal and Moxley and MJF on Dynamite. Regal was right there, but yeah, it was still a shocking moment when it happened. And yeah, just an incredible moment. MJF World Champion finally. Can't wait to see where it goes. And yeah, just great stuff overall. Gets a 9 out of 10 from me. The match didn't go as long as maybe I was expecting, but it's just a shock factor at the end that really didn't. MJF has a title reign. Moxley still has a claim to say he should have won as MJF tapped out, and MJF now is just going to be a total pass to Regal with him. Kind of the perfect promo, guys. Just brilliant stuff. 9 out of 10. Great way to end a great show. And yeah, overall, AEW Full Gear gets an 8 out of 10 from me. I really enjoyed Full Gear. I thought the match quality throughout the card was really pretty consistently good, really fun stuff throughout the show. And yeah, what can I say? These AEW pay-per-views, they go long, but they keep on delivering. Really fun show. So great stuff here. 8 out of 10 from me. But anyway, guys, that's it for the video. Thanks very much for watching. To like, share, subscribe. Learn any thoughts, comments, somewhere in front of daily wrestling news and subscribe to my channel. It's greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.